First of all, thank you guys for joining me for my webinar today. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Rose. I'm part of the field specialist team here at MECCO. So usually I'm out in the field going on site for product demonstrations, application support, project assessments, things along those lines. Obviously with everything going on, I've been doing some remote work, but it's nice because I can do webinars with you like this. All right, so for today, we're going to talk about our Dot Peen product line. And what we'll do is, we'll take maybe the next 20 minutes, we'll go over just some general information about what Dot Peen is. We'll talk about some of the technological differences that you'll see in the market, and then share some ideas on, some of the factors that go into creating a nice, good mark. Little housekeeping, I guess, before I hop into it. As we're going, if you have questions, we'll save the last 5-10 minutes to go over those. And in your panel, there should be a section where you can submit questions. So if you have them as we're going, feel free to throw them in there, and then we'll get to them at the end. All right, so what is Dot Peen? Dot Peen is a marking process, so it involves usually a carbide or a tungsten carbide pin that directly impacts your material to create a mark. So you can use these systems to do anything from a part number to a serial number, barcodes, logos, pretty much any information that you want to mark, you can use the system to mark directly onto your part. Usually, whenever I'm working with people, if someone tells me that they have an application and they need a lot of depth with speed, these are usually a good option. All right, so why use Dot Peen? Well, first of all, it's a permanent mark. So it's an impact mark, and you won't have to worry about that mark wearing off. If you have post-processing for your parts, such as shot blasting, painting, galvanizing, you can use the Dot Peen to get depth so that you can still read those marks after you're done processing. There are different versions available. Most systems are pneumatic, but if you don't have air available, there are electric models as well. So you can go either route with that. As far as using them, they're pretty straightforward to use. And integrating them is nice and easy. If you're looking to integrate a system into a production cell, you can take the head and hard mount it. I'll show you once we get to our SuperFast series. We actually have the smallest integrated head, so fitting it into tight spaces is a lot more doable than larger windows. We also have, there are also portable systems. So one of the things that people ask about a lot is, especially on the laser side, they say, is there a portable marker? With lasers, that's really hard to do. But with Dot Peen, since it's just an impact mark, you don't have as many safety considerations. So you can use a portable version to take your marker over to your part, which is great, especially if you have really large parts or if they're really heavy and just material handling gets kind of difficult. They're versatile. You can mark pretty much any metals and some hard plastics. Plastics can be tricky. You do have to watch because sometimes they have memory. But as far as metals go, you can mark anything up to about 62 Rockwell C. And the systems in general, they're pretty cost effective. You can get a system, bring it in-house and add or improve marking capabilities for usually under $10,000. All right, so we'll hop into some of the technological differences. The main difference that you'll see on the market is the way that the Dot Peen actually marks. Most systems have the Dot Peen technology. The Dot Peen technology is where you can see the correlation between the striking of the pin and where it hits. And a lot of times what's happening is you have air forcing your pin down. It indents your material, and then there's return air to bring that back up. So you fire, move the head, fire, move the head, and so on. And you can see in the top photo here, you can see the dotted appearance. Now at MECCO, we use what we call Vibra-peen. So this technology gives a much faster mark, because what's happening is you actually have a pin. It's a spring return system. So your stylus, the pin cycles 80 to 100 times per second inside of your head, and the stylus can do a continuous motion. So it's cycling continuously and your head continues to move. So you can see this is just one example. Cycle times, the dot peen technology took almost twice as long as the Vibra-peen. And I have a special for you. I actually have systems set up, so I'm going to show you the difference between the two. So excuse me while I toggle. So I'm going to turn the presentation off and go ahead and do a quick demo. All right, take you guys over here. All right, so the first system that we'll take a look at, this is actually one of our competitor system. So this is utilizing the dot peen technology. And what you'll see, it's just a quick string set up with 4.5 millimeter tall characters. But if you watch the pin and listen to it, you'll see the dot peen technology. Show you the mark. So hopefully you can see that this is what the top mark in the slideshow was. All right, so we'll go ahead, we'll move over to our system. This is our 50 by 17 benchtop system. And now you'll see the difference between Vibra-peen and dot peen. All right, so that gives you an idea of kind of what the cycle time differences look like, as well as quality of the mark. Pretty cool stuff. Vibra-peen is nice and fast. All right. Next, we'll talk about some of the different marking heads. So our SuperFast series, that's what we just used to make that mark. These are pretty cool. So they actually, I'll show you guys if you want to check out the video. With our SuperFast series, the head actually moves on an x-axis and then it pivots in the y. So the pivoting technology, that's what gets us that combined with Vibra-peen is what gets us a really fast mark. You know, I guess the downside to it is, you know, if you're doing a small amount of information, these are great. If you're doing a date code or a barcode, and like I said, if you want to integrate these into a production cell, you can see how small it is. Now, if you have like a label or a tag that needs a bigger marking window, then we can move to our standard series. Rather than pivoting in the Y, with our standard series, it moves on a Y axis, so you can cover more ground and create larger marks. And to show you what that looks like, I've got one right here. So you can see it has a bigger marking window, and then inside, your head moves on both axes. Sorry for the wobble. All right, so that's our standard series. And with both of these systems, I mean, you can get them in different configurations. So you can get a U model. What we just showed you was the benchtop. And like I said before, we also have portable versions. So we'll go ahead and run the portable here in a minute. Before we do that, you know, with these systems, there are, at least with ours, 3 different pin sizes that you can get. So depending on your material and how deep you need your mark to be, what we would do is we would use one of our pins to figure out which one's going to give us the depth that you need. So we have an N7, and you can kind of see the size of the piston here. We have an N14, which is middle of the road. And then we have an N20, which is for your deeper marks. All right, and all of these systems, they're pretty easy to set up. So they work with our SmartBox controller. Go ahead and set this up real quick so you can see it. And we'll go ahead and run the portable version. All right, so this is our SmartBox controller. This is the brains of the system. And then to program it, there's a keypad interface. We also have touchscreens available. This one's new, so I left the cover on it. But you can see you have a keyboard, and you just basically use that, type in your information, and I won't get into it for the sake of this webinar, but you can program the size, the speed to create the job file that you want. All right, and then this here, this is our portable version of the 50 by 17. Now we do have different sizes available for this. So again, just depends on your marking window. But these are nice. This is what you can use if you have large parts that are heavy, hard to move. You can take this, and whether you're doing a flat surface or a round surface, you can take this over to your part and create your marks. So I'll go ahead and run this real quick. And we do have, there are different brackets too. What I just used were the standard feet that come with the system. But you can also make or purchase brackets that help with positioning. All right, so that is the portable system. Okay, and like I mentioned before, if you don't have air available, you can get these in an electric version. I know there's plenty of these on the market. The biggest difference between electric and pneumatic, one is the marking technology. So with electric units, you can only utilize the dot peen technology. Since there's no air, you can't continuously cycle that pin, so we lose the ability to do the Vibra-peen. However, you know, if noise is a concern, the electric units are, they still have noise, but they are a bit quieter than the pneumatic systems. Okay, next we'll talk about our N34. So this is the beefed up version of our dot peen line. This is the unit that you'll want to use if you have post-processing like painting or galvanizing. If you need a really deep mark that's going to withstand processes, and maybe your parts are out in a yard and they get rust, this system can get really deep marks and they last a long time. So you can see the photo in the kind of bottom right-hand corner. That was a mark that we did that got painted afterward. Again, you can do up to 62 Rockwell C. These are good for, I know a lot of like tool dies, you can use it for that. And in this case, the picture we have shown, this is one of our portable units. So that's a good fit for that. But if you have smaller parts that still need a deep mark, you can get that as a benchtop configuration as well. And I've got mine set up so you can see that too. I'll go ahead and show you that. Now this one I set up to mark on a pipe. So I know a lot of times people do ask about marking on round parts, so you can do that. I'm gonna take you guys over to our N34. All right, so you can see the difference in the pin size there. This one is quite a bit bigger, even compared to our N20 pin. Just for a side-by-side comparison here, you can see how much bigger that is. All right, so I'll go ahead and run this. You get a nice deep mark. So that is the N34. Our Scribe is coming through okay. It is not because I forgot to share my screens. Give me 1 second. Okay. So this is the Scribe unit. The Scribe, if noise is a concern, these are the quietest systems that we have. Technology is a little bit different. Rather than having a pin that cycles to impact the pin, what the Scribe does is it actually takes your pin, impacts the material, and then it drags to create the mark. So you get a nice smooth mark, but without all the noise. I'll go ahead and play this video so you can see it. And with these, we have different, so there's different, depending on how much depth you need, the configuration might change. The biggest thing to consider with the Scribe units, since you are dragging the pin, you're introducing side loads, so fixturing is going to be very important if you are looking at a Scribe unit. All right, so that's kind of a general overview of some of the different configurations and marking technologies that you'll see. A lot of times I'll go on site and it's kind of fun because I get to put my Dot Peen hat on and help with applications. So what goes into creating a good mark? There's a few different things you can look at, and obviously these are geared toward our systems. Other systems might be different, but the first is the configuration. Like I said, we have U models, which is the head only. We have portable systems. We have benchtop systems. And with those, depending on your part geometry, you might need a custom bracket, a standard bracket, or just a turnkey solution. But when you're looking at these, you'll want to figure out, okay, what's going to be the best way to handle this marking unit to fit my process. Next is fixturing. Since these are impact marks, you'll want to make sure that your part is stationary. So whether you have a large part that you're taking a portable system over to, or if you're using a benchtop system and fixturing a part, you want to make sure that that part is secure. Any movement on that part, you will see it in the mark. Okay, and then pin size. We talked about the 3 different pin sizes that we have for our standard series. And then you have the N34. And each pin, creates its own depth. So that's part of the thing. One thing that you'll want to check whenever you're creating your marks, making sure that you have the correct pin size to get the depth you need. Okay, next is your offset. I've done it myself where you're either too close or too far away, but like any tool, you do have a distance that you need between your pin and your part. So our systems, we include standoff gauges with them. So if you get a system, you should have one of these in your box, and then you'll use that to make sure that your standoff is correct. So if it's not correct, what happens with the way that these heads work, your pin comes down, and if it's too close to the part, then it'll end up getting stuck because your air doesn't release, and then it'll jam up and you won't get a good mark. Same concept if you're too far away, then there's nothing to stop this pin from cycling. It'll overstretch all the way, but then you lose your momentum and you don't get a mark that would be as deep as it should be. Next is your speed. I know on our systems you can run anywhere from a 1 to 10. So the slower you run the system, the deeper your mark will be. And the faster you run the system, the more shallow your mark will be. And you can tell the difference. It's basically a bunch of dots overlapping. So the more dots you have, the deeper your mark's going to be. I know on like the electric versions, you can control that with your dot density. So basically, how many dots per inch do you want to create? So the higher your dot density, the closer together your dots will be, and the deeper your mark will be. And last is your air pressure. So our systems come with an air regulator. We typically run anywhere from 60 to 90 PSI, I think 100 for the N34. But obviously, the higher your air pressure, the deeper your mark will be. So those are a few things that you can check if you are having issues, or if you just want to get a deeper mark. Take a look at those things, make some adjustments, and that might get you to where you need to be. All right, so yeah, overall, if you're looking into part marking, dot peen, like I said, could be a good option. You get deep marks, fast. There's different options available, different configurations. So chances are there's something there that could get you the mark that you need for your parts. And sales hat on now, we do have, we're running a special. We have some demo systems that we are looking to offer at a discounted price. So if you guys are interested in a dot peen system, want to get a good deal, don't mind a demo or refurbished system, let us know and we'll see if what we have will match your application. And these are available while we have them, but once they're gone, they're gone. All right, so we'll go ahead, we'll open the floor to questions. Before I hop into that, just a couple of reminders. We do have a couple more webinars going on tomorrow, so check those out, see if there's something that you're interested in watching. You can use the link that you used to sign up for this, or if you go to our webpage under the events tab, it'll be listed under there. And if you have an application, or if you just want to pick our brains, have a conversation, feel free to give us a call. You're welcome to call me directly. You can call the main line at MECCO, or we are still having one-on-one sessions available. I'm offering those as well as 2 of my coworkers. So if you're interested in booking a one-on-one, feel free to check out the site. All right, so I'll go ahead and jump down into questions. Okay, so I've got the difference of cost between marking metals with your system versus plasma or laser marking. Right, that's a great question. So cost-wise, dot peen, I mean, like I said, you'll probably be under 10,000. I'd say 10,000 is probably a good median range for the dot peen lines. With laser marking systems, I do apologize, I can't speak to plasma marking. I've not too familiar with costs on those, but we do laser marking, so I can talk to that. Laser marking, with our systems, we start out around $20,000. So that's our new light rider. That's our newest laser offering. That one, it's a 20-watt fiber, so you can mark pretty much any metals, and you can do plastics as well with that. But that's kind of the starting range. But with laser marking, depending on how complex you need the system to be, I mean, you can go all the way up to $100,000. So if that's something that you want to talk about and get some pricing on, just let me know. All right, and I've got, is the N34 able to mark on radius or circumference of pipe with the portable head? Okay, so if you're talking about, right, we marked down the length. Obviously, that's the easy way to do it. If you want to mark around their circumference, you can do that. It's a little bit tricky, especially with the N34 because it's a bit heavier. It would be one of those things where, depending on how long your string is, if it's a short string, chances are you'll be able to mark it like that. But if it's something where you might have to use like a rotary chuck to wrap the whole way around the tube or diameter, then yeah, you might want to use like a bench top with a rotary, or you could, we had systems like special bracket that you can put on there with support and then kind of roll the system with it as it's going to keep that offset. We do offer part marking, so if you have a part and you want us to test it out to see if it works, we can do that. All right, let me make sure. I'll go ahead and give this a couple minutes. If you guys have any other kind of last minute questions, make sure I didn't miss any of these. Okay. All right, I've got one more. How long does the pin last? So we get that question a lot. The lifespan of your pin is going to vary depending on how often you use it and what type of material you're using. So obviously on softer materials like aluminum, you're going to have much less wear on your pin. You may not even have to replace the pin, honestly, with aluminum, but with your harder materials, you will eventually see some wear. So we had one example, I think it was, there was a customer, they were marking 800 bottles per week, so about 2,400 per month, and it was steel, and their pin lasted, I think, 9 months, and honestly, it was replaced as a PM, so the pin was actually still good. And the nice thing about these is you have a tip on the end. I don't know if that'll focus, doesn't look like it, but you can actually resharpen these up to about 3 times before you have to replace the entire pin. All right. Well, like I said, if you guys have any other questions, just running through this one more time. Make sure I didn't miss any. Okay. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great day, and thanks again. All right. Bye.